There's quite a few things involved in Leviticus 16, the Day of Atonement. A lot of this, I acknowledge I don't quite know what any of it is, but Aaron is supposed to bring his own bull and his own ram for a bull for a sin offering, a ram for a burnt offering. Then from the Israelite community, he is to take 2 male goats for a sin offering and a ram for a burnt offering. Looks like both rams are there for a burnt offering. The ram from Aaron and the ram uh, from the Israelite community. Aaron offers the bull for his own sin offering to make atonement for himself and his household. Then he takes the 2 goats and presents them before the Lord at the entrance to the tent of meeting. He's to cast lots for the 2 goats, one lot for the Lord and the other for the scapegoat. I'm going to start calling these the Lord goat and the scapegoat. So to review, we've got Aaron, he's got a ram and a bull. The community, we've got a ram, the Lord goat, and the scapegoat. And what we've done so far is Aaron has offered the bull. Um, I guess that means they burned it. And then they're presenting the goats for their sin offering. And so based on this, it sounds like when the 2 goats are actually brought to the tent of meeting, they don't know which goat is going to be which. Aaron is supposed to cast lots for the 2 goats. One of them is for the Lord, one of them is the Lord goat, and one of them is the scapegoat. So it's one lot. There's a single lot. One of them is called the Lord goat, and they sacrifice it for a sin offering. Um, the other goat is called the scapegoat, and it will be used later to make atonement by sending it into the wilderness. But we haven't done that. We haven't sacrificed it yet. We're actually, so it's only in verse 16, 15. We've cast the lots, but we haven't yet slaughtered the goat. We haven't slaughtered the Lord goat. It's also strange. In verse 6, Aaron is to offer the bull for his sin offering, but we wait until verse 11 after the lot has been cast, and then the bull is slaughtered. So I'm going to make a little adjustment to this. No, we're not going to burn the bull yet. We offer the bull, we present the goats, we decide which goat is which, and then we slaughter the bull. Aaron is to take a censer full of burning coals from the altar before the Lord and 2 handfuls of finely ground fragrant incense, and take them behind the curtain. He is to put the incense on the fire before the Lord, and the smoke of the incense will conceal the atonement cover above the tablets of the covenant law, so that he will not die. Okay, that's interesting. We need incense to conceal the atonement cover so that he will not die. I guess that atonement cover must be not something you want to look at. I don't know. He is to take some of the bull's blood with his finger, sprinkle it on front of the atonement cover, then he shall sprinkle some of it with his finger 7 times before the atonement cover. So some of it, 7 sprinkles on the front, and then another 7 sprinkles before the front. So I guess like on the floor? I don't know. Okay, then finally, slaughter the Lord goat. You shall slaughter the goat for the sin offering for the people, and take its blood behind the curtain, and do with it as you did with the bull's blood. 7 sprinkles in front, 7 sprinkles on, and then 7 sprinkles in front of the covenant, or the atonement cover. In this way he will make atonement for the most holy place because of the uncleanness and rebellion of the Israelites, whatever their sins have been. He is to do the same for the tent of meeting, which is among them in the midst of their uncleanness. Okay, I'm actually a little confused by that because I thought he was already in the tent of meeting. All right, this is probably important. According to the Hebrew Bible, the Kaparet, or mercy seat, was a gold lid placed on the Ark of the Covenant, with two cherubim beaten out of the ends to cover and create the space into which Yahweh was said to appear. This was connected with the rituals of the Day of Atonement. So the Ark and mercy seat were kept inside the Holy of Holies, the temple's innermost sanctuary, which was separated from the other parts of the temple by a thick curtain. So the Holy of Holies was definitely not the tent of meeting, because it could be entered only by the high priest on the Day of Atonement. Here's even a model of the tabernacle showing the holy place, and behind it the Holy of Holies. So it's the inner sanctuary of the tabernacle. And the tabernacle is also known as the tent of congregation or tent of meeting. Okay, so the most holy place here is the inner sanctum to the tent of meeting. And the most holy place contains the Ark of the Covenant. And no one is to be in the tent of meeting from the time Aaron goes in to make atonement in the most holy place until he comes out, having made atonement for himself, his household, and the whole community of Israel. So, clarification question. Uh, did he slaughter the things out here, go in, sprinkle the bull's blood, come out, slaughter the goat, and then go back in and sprinkle the goat's blood? Or did he have a slaughtering place inside here and not come out for the entire process? Verse 17 says, "No one is to be in the tent of meeting from the time Aaron goes in to make atonement in the most holy place until he comes out, having made atonement for himself, his household, and the whole community of Israel." So that gives that means that he has to sprinkle the bull's blood for himself and his household, and then sprinkle the goat's blood for the whole community of Israel before he pops back out. And we've got a process here. Verse 11 says he slaughters the bull. 14 says he sprinkles the blood of the bull. 15 says he slaughters the Lord goat. And 15 also says he sprinkles the blood of the Lord goat. So we've got a definite order here, and he can't leave until he's done both. So that means he either slaughters both the bull and the goat inside, or he slaughters the bull out here and slaughters the goat inside. So it could be he brought both goats in with him. That could be a possibility, that he brings both goats inside there with him. And no one is to be in the tent of meeting from the time Aaron goes in to make atonement in the most holy place until he comes out, having made atonement for himself, which is sprinkling the blood of the bull, and the whole community of Israel, which is slaughtering and sprinkling the blood of the goat, of the Lord goat. Then he shall come out to the altar that is before the Lord and make atonement for it. And he shall take some of the bull's blood and some of the goat's blood and put it on the horns of the altar. So he comes outside, sprinkling blood on it 7 times. So here in verse 20, Aaron comes out and he brings forward the live goat. He lays both hands on the head of the live goat and confesses over it all the wickedness and rebellion of the Israelites, all their sins, and puts them on the goat's head. He shall send the goat away into the wilderness in the care of someone appointed for the task. Okay, this is where we're at. This is essentially the hidden theme of John's Gospel. For instance, in John 1:42, John puts both hands over Jesus' head and confesses to name calling. Granted, that's not a major sin, but name calling is something that as children we're generally taught not to do. In John 1:47, John confesses over the head of Jesus the sin of flattery, seeing Nathanael and saying, "Here truly is an Israelite in whom there is no deceit." When it's already clear that Nathanael is either sarcastic or cynical. And then in John 1:50, this might be construed as bragging. You will see greater things than that. And some might read this as tawdry, euphemistic language. But John chapter 2 contains, I would say, 2.5 events. The first event, Jesus turns water into wine. This event does not actually occur in Matthew, Mark, or Luke. There's no reference to this ever happening. In the second event, Jesus makes a whip out of cords and drives everyone out of the temple courts, telling them to destroy this temple and he will raise it again in 3 days. And it even mentions here that he was raised from the dead. Now, with a bit of variation, these events did occur in the other Gospels. Something notable, though, in Mark 14, it specifically says this is false testimony against Jesus. This false testimony is, "We heard him say, 'I will destroy this temple made with human hands, and in 3 days we will build another not made with hands.'" So Mark 14 says this is false testimony. But John 2 says, "Jesus answered them, 'Destroy this temple, and I will raise it again in 3 days.'" Now, of course, that's not a verbatim word-for-word quote, but it seems to me a fairly direct contradiction in accounts that Mark would say, "This is false testimony," while John says, "This is what Jesus said." Now, finally, I said there were 2.5 events. Let's look at the half event. While he was in Jerusalem at the Passover festival, many people saw the signs he was performing and believed in his name. But Jesus would not entrust himself to them, for he knew all people. He did not need the testimony about mankind, for he knew what was in each person. So that's kind of an interesting twist on what you usually hear from Christians, who pretty much say that if you believe in Jesus' name, then Jesus will love you. But here it sort of seems to say, no, he doesn't need any testimony about you believing in his name. He already knows what's in you. And I don't know about you, but I'm reading this as sort of dark. Um, he knows what's in you, therefore he does not entrust himself to you. Okay, so why now did I bring up 2.5 events? Well, the first one is essentially about turning one thing into another thing, turning water to wine, turning bread or turning stones into bread, uh, something like that. The second one is about throwing himself down, letting himself be destroyed so that he can be raised uh, up from the dead or be prevented from harm. And the third is about being offered something. Uh, he has access to something, but he rejects it for one reason or another. He has access to a lot of people, all of their faith. So all of these are directly reflected by when in the other Gospels they have Jesus being led out into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil. The devil tempts him by saying, "If you are the Son of God, tell these stones to become bread." It's almost perfectly analogous to when his mother said, "Tell this water to become wine." Then the devil says to him, "If you are the Son of God, throw yourself down, for it is written, He will command His angels concerning you, they will lift you up in their hands so that you will not strike your foot against stone." Now, that is almost exactly analogous to him telling those people in the temple to destroy their temple, and he's going to raise it up in one day. And him actually meaning, destroy me. And finally, the third, which I called the half event in the other spot, the devil takes him to a very high mountain and shows him all the kingdom of the world and their splendor. And in John 2, that's represented in a way by all of the people believing in his name. But the devil says, "All this I will give you if you will bow down and worship me." And at the end of John 2, Jesus did not entrust himself to any of those people that had faith in him. So that is, in some sense, rejecting all of that faith is sort of an act of cynicism and maybe could, well, I don't want to say that that is in itself worshiping the devil when you uh, are a little bit cynical, but it is, in a way it does. It goes back to this model of what is your concept of the universe? Is your concept of the universe, is it a good place or is it a bad place? When Jesus won't entrust people because he knows what's in their heart, it is a little bit of a cynical attitude that puts, that kind of says what your concept of the universe should be is more negative than positive. And it's just a tiny step in the direction towards the idea that the universe is a bad place, which is a tiny direction towards glorifying the devil in some sense, because you're kind of thinking that since everybody is so bad, that means the devil's in charge.